Let's take this client as an example who went from 700, they were stuck there for a long time, had 3 times the team size, now doing 2 point something million with a third of the team. So walk me through, where were they at the time, and how was the business operating? How did they make 700,000? What was it through retainers?
Basically, they do SEO and content for B2B, and they do some paid media for B2B as well. What we did is we started with the mechanical part. Which part's making money, which one isn't? So we knocked out the paid media because they did fine with it, but frankly, it wasn't making any money. And also that was always the secondary sale. So we just were able to get rid of that. And then we really worked on positioning. And they knew who their customer was, but they were always in the spot where they had to take whatever customer said yes, because they needed the money to support this team that was too big. So essentially, we worked on positioning so it became very clear whom they work with and what their benefit is. So that really sharpened up their ability to attract clients who were much closer to their ideal client than what they had been getting previously. We also then worked on lead gen. We worked on cold outreach, did not work for them, nor they were not invested in it necessarily. So we came up with these idea of work sessions. So they would reach out to a client and do a virtual, how to make your content team better work session. It was usually an hour and a half. They didn't charge for it, which eventually they ended up charging, but at the beginning they didn't charge for it. And that hour and a half of them walking through their process and getting feedback from the team who would implement that process really helped them not only hone their message, but it showed the potential clients what an extraordinary value they could provide. So if they could change the content team's perspective in an hour and a half, what could they do in a 6-month-long project or a year-long project together?
Okay. So it was a combination of making sure that there was a proper lead gen process, refining the product offering itself, the service offering, by not doing too many things and just basically doubling down on the zone of genius. And what about pricing? Did you work on pricing with them?
Yes, the pricing is about 5 times what it was. And functionally so they were very stuck in this sort of dollars per hours mode. And so we killed that right away. We went to project mode. But what we did alongside of that is we found ways to do labor arbitrage. So what was the lowest value stuff that they did suddenly went to contractors and didn't, as long as they understood the process and could execute the work, it didn't matter where they were. So they were able to find good quality talent at reasonable prices other places. And so over time, what has happened is the strategy and the account management lives here in the US. And basically strategy, account management, sales lives here in the US. And then basically everything else is through contractors throughout the world. Some are in the US, some are in the Philippines, some are in Canada, but that's really that was their choice, because once they realized what they had, they realized that there was probably only 25% of what they did needed experience and high value thinking. And most of what they had been spending their budget on previously was lower value stuff that was repetitious. Keyword research, that sort of stuff. And so they're able to take that, move it off seas, reduce their costs dramatically. And that the freedom that gave them with margin, they were able to hire better people to do the high value stuff. So the core team is actually paid much better than they used to be, because they're doing work that is right for them.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So in general, when you look at kind of businesses or agencies, I should say, and you speak to them, like in a Can you come up with a one, two in order of what are the biggest challenges people, what are the things people get wrong that prevent them from growing their agency? In other words, like what's your best growth tactics?
This is both a tactic and a strategy. You have to own this idea. Your job is not to create happy clients. Your job is to create teams and systems that create happy clients. And you work for your team, and your team works for the client. And if you cannot keep that in your head all the time, every day, that your job is to give the team everything it needs so the team can do everything it needs to do for the client, that frees up so much bandwidth, and it stops you from jumping in and doing the work. Because when you jump in and do the work, even if you're working alongside your team, you're sending this awful message to them. I'm better at this, so just back out of the way. The adults are here now. And you can't do that. I think the 5 words that will kill your agency fastest are never mind, I'll do it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think one of the strategies I've learned over the years that really helps with this is before you ever, if your team comes to you with any sort of problem, it's called the 131. And basically, the idea is very simple. You ask them, like, they come to you with one problem, you ask them to give you 3 possible solutions. And then you ask them, what do you think is the best of those 3 solutions? And typically, before they even come to you, they'll have, here's the problem, here's the 3 solutions, here's what I think is the best solution. It will have given them the ability to think it through, to come up with it. And most of the time, they actually come up with the best solution. And if not, then you can walk through and work through it with them, but it alleviates you from that kind of, hey, I'm just going to have to do it and I'm just going to get it done.
It's the gift of autonomy and authority.
So let me ask you this then. If that's the case, what do you say to the agency owners who aren't operationally minded? So there's a lot of people who start an agency because they are marketers, they are tactical, they're good at something, they're not good at managing people, they're not operationally minded, they're not systems driven per se. They just know how to do something really well. And then they get into that stage where it's, I don't like operations. I actually don't like managing people. But I still want to grow this. I still want to get it past this stage. So what do you say there?
So I don't like managing people. You got to get over it, because as CEO, that's your job. Nobody else can manage the team. Now, you might have leaders that are under you that manage other parts of the team, but your job as chief executive officer is management. Like, you're at the top of the org chart, like that's your job. So if you're not willing to invest in yourself to create the skill set and the mindset to do that, you're a solo freelancer, and that's not a bad thing. That's awesome, because you can make a lot of money doing that, but you can't build an organization if you are not willing to manage it.